Hello, welcome to Hotline Live with Record Sport, brought to you by NordVPN. Easily and far and away the best VPN to watch all of your sporting events when you're on your travels. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Record Sport's Keith Jackson and Craig Swan. How's it going, guys?
Okay.
Not bad, Dan. Listen, see, you keep giving this NordVPN glowing sort of recommendations. Have you used it? What do you do with it?
Listen, I'm no stranger to VPNs. I'm a thoroughly experienced VPN
I
user.
feared the worst with that.
And NordVPN is right at the top of the list. There you go. Swanee, how's it going?
Good, mate. Thank you. How's yourself?
Very good, thanks.
Good.
Swanee and I caught up earlier on the Record Celtic podcast, which is out there if you want to check it out. But there's plenty more than Celtic to be talked about tonight, Keith.
Yeah, look, I'm still not over it. The weekend, just a sensational Sunday afternoon. And do you know what I'm really pleased about, Dan? And it's becoming part of the conversation now. People in England are talking about this. People in England are saying they wish they had some of this drama and excitement. Not everybody, and a lot of people will still look down their noses at our game. But this is astonishing. And I just think week on week, as we build towards the sort of climax, I feel like it's just going to get better and better. I think it's going to be drama every weekend now. Stories everywhere you look. And, just thinking back on those two games yesterday, it was just utterly sensational. All the twists and turns, Celtic coming back for two, down, scoring in the 97th minute, winner. And then Hearts going to Ibrox, taking the lead twice, drama, Sharmiti getting a hat-trick. It's superb. It really is superb. And Scottish football, and we've got a World Cup built on at the end of this season, by the way. So it just feels like this is one of the greatest seasons in the modern era for sure.
Keith, just not that your point needed backed up because it's obviously correct, but literally 15 minutes before this started, I took a phone call from someone who works in the PDC darts because obviously it's at the Hydro this week in Glasgow to arrange something for later in the week. Who spent the first 5 minutes of the phone call talking about watching the two games yesterday and how I'm paying more attention to it this season. It's really exciting.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant, yeah. Swanee. It's long overdue in terms of a real title race. But in ordinary circumstances, you might get a title race between Celtic and Rangers. This whole Hearts dynamic has shifted everything. It's incredible. Can't get enough of it. So on we go.
Absolutely. We started yesterday's show, obviously off the back of Rangers versus Hearts. So maybe we should start on a Celtic note. And a lot of the comments are talking about Neil McCann, talking about his annoyance with the 7 minutes added time. David in the comments says, do you think Neil McCann knows Kilmarnock had an extra 7 minutes to try and win? You're low him up at 211 minutes extra time Celtic have had apparently since the start of the season. Although David says, I seem to remember a 98th minute penalty at Tannadice. He didn't complain to the ref. So I guess this is what's going to happen when it's so tight, as we've just been saying in the title race.
This is the new thing. Minutes of extra time. I've seen there's a debate on social media about it. And people tallying up, Celtic had 60 minutes of extra time, more than anybody else, and all. Come on, guys, really? But do you know what? It's all part of the fun of the fair, isn't it? We're going to get these squabbles and theories popping up all over the place. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have the appetite to have an argument with somebody about minutes added on at the end of a football match.
You could hear in the post-match Sky Sports interview yesterday with, I think it was Arojo, you could hear Neil McCann screaming at his players. And I thought that was a bit harsh because even, we were saying earlier, Swanee, even when Celtic get the 3 points, they weren't exactly dominant in the second half. It wasn't like they were battering Kelly and Kelly gave in. 3 or 4 chances and took 3 of them.
I think that's probably where you'll find Neil McCann's frustration come from.
Exactly.
If Celtic are absolutely hemming Kilmarnock and smashing balls off the goalkeeper, hitting the crossbar, and eventually the dam breaks, he's probably not that angry.
I see what you mean.
Really, really angry with his own team yesterday. I still was in the press room when he said it. The 7 minutes of extra, I don't know where they got that from. I think he said something. I think they make it up these days. Listen, Brad Lyon's got a ball in the face. from Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain was on the deck the way onto time. Dom Thompson was on the deck. His striker went down. Tyrese John Jules. It was about 10 subs. So, I mean, I don't think it's difficult to win. Anyway, that's by the by. I'm with Keith. We don't get involved in this kind of stuff. I was more angry in the fact that his team hadn't defended two throws.
Frustrated, Swanee, isn't he? He's frustrated because
they lost the equaliser from a long throw, and then cardinal sin. You know, you've got one more thing to defend. That's it. One throw in, deal with that throw in, and you take a point of it. And to be fair to Neil McCann, he actually said that. He actually said, "I'm even more angry by the fact we didn't see it through."
Mm-hmm.
You know, he said that's where my anger comes from. The anger wasn't necessarily about the time. He quizzed it, but his anger was about the fact that his team didn't see it through. And I think that stems from exactly the point you've said, Daniel. Kilmarnock weren't clinging on. They were well worthy a point, and they didn't get one.
Hit the bar, almost won it as well.
I mean, there you go, right? We're talking about what a great kind of couple of games, brilliant spectacle. But there are little moments that almost go forgotten. That John Jules free kick was absolutely stunning, wasn't it?
No, it was a
thing of beauty. If that goes in, Kilmarnock, I don't know if Celtic come back from that. Although it's dangerous to doubt Celtic's levels of resilience, clearly. But I just think having made the effort, made the push to get back to level terms, I think if Kelly went and made it 3-2, that would have knocked the wind out of Celtic sails. And it was a brilliant free kick, wasn't it? And I hope that the injury to John Jules isn't as bad as it probably looks as if it's going to be. Because, you know, that looked like something went in his thigh. And just when you've got a striker that's really coming into form, you know, Kilmarnock need all the help they can get. Neil McCann is starting to turn things around. It'd be a real blow if he was to miss a significant chunk of what's left of the season now.
Absolutely. I've seen the last two games, Keith, and he was absolutely dynamite in both of them.
Yeah.
Both of them. Brilliant research against St Mirren, all types of goals. Power, panache, persistence. Got him his 3 goals against St Mirren. As you say, the free kick yesterday, and the assist as well for Joe Hugel as well as the goal. I mean, he just made Austin Trusty look like a statue. He just shifted it so quickly at his feet and bang. Wasn't a great defending, and when you've got a striker like that in that form, guys, we all know what it's like that, you know, in that situation. When you see teams, if somebody's got a goal scorer down there, it's worth its weight in gold. And if he's lost, that is a big blow given the form he was in. But listen, I'll be hoping Joe Hugel got off the mark yesterday. So hopefully
I think Austin Trusty won't forget that 90 minutes in a while. So John Jules turned him inside out, I thought. And then he started to look really nervous as well.
You can see that coming after Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm.
See, in the comments, guys were taking a bit of stick and being accused of a conspiracy theory of our own. I don't know if you noticed it at the game, Swanee, or yourself on TV, Keith. Celtic had a couple of penalty shouts. The one that I saw that I thought was a penalty was Brad Lyons, the handball. I don't know if you guys have seen it back. We can't obviously show a clip, but it did look like a pretty blatant penalty. Alan says, "Are you going to mention the handball? Is that not fit in your narrative?" And a couple of other people along. Kev says, "What about the two clear Stonewall pens?" I mean, look, every week we talk about.
What was the other one, Daniel? I was at the game and I don't recall.
I can't remember the other one.
I'm struggling with it.
Bouncing and shuttling about the box because obviously we're up the back of the stand and look, the TV replay, so I don't know anything about them genuinely.
The Brad Lyons one, which I'm sure you can find on social media if you watch the clip, his hand's right above his head, and it does look like a penalty. The ball's bouncing, and he sort of hands it away. But I'm not sure what the other one is. Anyone in the comments can let us know. But we say this every week, Keith. The refereeing standard this season it really isn't great.
No, it's not, and everybody's going to have to just suck that up, I'm afraid. These referees are refereeing, I'll say, to the best of their ability. Maybe not. Maybe they're just having a rough time. I don't know. But every team's having to put up with it. Every team's going to get decisions that they shouldn't get and get decisions going against them that shouldn't have gone against them. That's just the way of the world. I didn't see any reason for Celtic to come away from that game thinking they'd been hard done by the officials. Certainly not.
If it finished 2-2 though, it'd be a different story. Or 2-1.
Yeah, but look, do you know what? Yes, you're right. And this is going to happen. You can bet your last pound. Swanee's a betting man more than I would ever be. But I'm telling you now, there is going to be at least one mega controversy between now and the end of the season. And probably there could be one every weekend, because that's how tight everything is. There's so much pressure on. There's so much at stake every time these three teams are walking out onto a football pitch right now. There will be decisions made, unfortunately, that will create mega rammies. And again, it's part and parcel. And you know what? I'm not going to even moan about that tonight, because if it wasn't for the fact that we had this incredible campaign up and running, then it wouldn't matter and it wouldn't be that much of a talking point. The reason it will become kind of magnified is because every decision counts now. Every break of the ball, every refereeing decision, everything is under the microscope. And that's under the microphone. And that's just...
We're under the microphone.
The other thing is, Keith, it's not just official. It's the blame game at this stage of the season. You only need to go through the last two Rangers games in the last 5 days. After Motherwell, Danny Rowe was absolutely hopeless because he picked the worst team, and Chermiti was an absolute nightmare. And then you follow the game yesterday, and Yusuf Chermiti's a complete hero, and Danny Rowe's a genius. It's just going to be like that. It's going to be like that all the way from now until the end of the season. And like you say,
agreed, Swanee. But I would say this: I think it was right for Danny Rowe to get criticised after that Motherwell game, and the very simple reason behind that is he brought in a bunch of new players that certainly look to be upgrades on what was already there, and what was already there probably wasn't going to be good enough to win this league. I think we've all established that. So he's upgraded in key positions. I think the first real view that Rangers get of them is the second half. Was it the Dundee United game? Was it Dundee United? Anyway, they all come in off the bench at half time. Rangers were 1-1-0. Was it even Kilmarnock?
Kilmarnock, I think.
Right. And they look great and they score a bunch of goals, and then they played in the cup, and these guys all started and they score a load of goals again. And then they play Hearts, and these guys are all playing and they score a bunch of goals. It makes no sense. I still can't work it out what was going through the manager's head when he went to Fir Park, which is probably it is one of the most difficult venues anywhere in Scotland right now, and leaves out all or most of his upgrades. I still can't understand it. But I think he obviously perhaps learnt a lesson there. I don't know. Maybe Danny Rowe's got more tricks up his sleeve. Maybe he'll change things around. But when was it, Daniel, I said to you that I felt the strongest Rangers starting 11 would be Jack Butland in goal, Sterling, John Souttar, Fernandes, two Romans, and then I would go with I would have went with a midfield three of Raskin, Chukwueze, and Diomande, and then Moore, Skov Olsen, and Nadiri. And that was almost the 11. Of course, he changed that by taking Diomande out and putting two strikers with Chermiti. Nobody saw that one coming. So fair, you've got to give respect and dues to the manager. He made a big call there that very few other people would have agreed with, and Chermiti got a hat-trick.
Yeah. I mean, see the thing with Chermiti, look, fair play to him to get a hat-trick, and, you know, he seems to save it for the big games, Celtic Park as well. I don't know what you think, Swanee. I'm still not convinced he's a long-term first-choice starter for Rangers. I mean, some of the Hearts defending for the goals, he looked back, it was pretty poor.
Yeah, and I think I think you just hit the nail on the head with the point you made there. That he's come good in a couple of big games. That's not good enough at Rangers. Rangers, you have to do it week in, week out. This is the thing that we always say about players when they go to Rangers and Celtic. You can't have 3 good games and a bad game. It's not allowed. You have to be on it every single week. And fantastic, hats off to the lad for scoring a hat-trick. Good on him, and he obviously scored a couple of goals at Celtic Park in New Year as well. But he needs to be doing it every week. He needs to be doing it every week. If you're a number 9 at Rangers, now I understand now there will probably be some turnover in terms of he might start some games, Nadiri might start other games. They might play as a 2, as they did yesterday. I know that'll happen, but 20 goals minimum. John Hartson said it years ago. You play for Celtic Rangers up front, you better be scoring 20 goals, or you're not doing your job. Minimum, and that is you only look across Glasgow at Celtic just now. How the strikers have misfired so badly. It's been a major point of the season. They're clinging on to the goals of Benjamin Negrin at the moment.
It's spot on, Swanee. If you're a striker, your prime objective is to go and score goals. Now, it's all very good being involved in the build-up and linking up and bringing teammates into the game, movement and all the rest of it. But the bottom line is, you go onto the pitch with number 9 on your back, you better score goals. That's the whole point. And nobody will get the amount of service over the course of a season than a Rangers striker or a Celtic striker in the Scottish League. Therefore, 20 is an absolute minimum. You're spot on. But I do wonder, having watched that, I do wonder if Chermiti might be one of those that enjoys playing with another striker. I do wonder if that might have got the best out of him. Because he is guilty a little bit, I think, of drifting deep and into wide areas and then not getting into the penalty box. But I just wondered when Nadiri playing up alongside him, the pair of them kind of shared the workload. And I wonder if that might be a sort of long-term answer for Danny Rowe. And I wonder if you might get a better goal return out of Chermiti when he's got a foil there, when he's got somebody else dragging defenders about and giving them a bit of a beating up, because Nadiri's obviously going to throw his weight around. He looks like a real physical specimen, and they were a real handful, the pair of them. So you just wonder if having the presence of another striker up there, somebody else for defenders to worry about, it might give Chermiti a little bit more room, a little bit more breathing space in the penalty box. And as I said yesterday, I didn't believe that the header he scores, I just didn't believe that was in his locker. That was an astonishingly brilliant. So, you know, maybe he comes on to a game now if he's got a bit of company up there. And he wouldn't be the first striker. We've seen this before. Players that have been kind of bang average, going through the motions through the course of the season. And when it gets to this final part, all of a sudden, they start banging in goals. We've seen it more than one occasion over the years. And Rangers will be hoping that that's exactly what Chermiti intends to do from now on. Because if he does, and if he starts weighing in, and if Nadiri starts hitting the back of the net, that's some heavy artillery. That's some heavy firepower. And if you're going to win a title, that's what you're going to need.
It's amazing. Sorry, Daniel. It's amazing how it's changing, isn't it? From we were talking about this the other week on Hotline Live, weren't we? About anti-Pep and how football's changing now. The Celtic scored for 2 long throws yesterday. We've got 2 strikers playing up front with each other. Football's changing back. It's changing back. Everyone's bored in the English Premier League. Bring on the Scottish rough and tumble.
Absolutely.
I committed an act of blasphemy. There was last night when I said, you're not allowed to criticise Pep.
Yeah.
But I'd struggle to open my curtains to watch Man City, and I know that they're technically brilliant, but I just find it, I don't know, I find it a hard watch. And the atmosphere inside their stadium is like a library. They're kind of Scottish football's the antidote, and I'm perfectly happy with it.
We can actually, I think before we go on, we can actually hear from Danny Rowe and Derek McInnes following last night's game. Let's have a listen and see what they said.
Danny, could you just sum your emotions after that one today?
My emotion was better 4-2. Now I'm really calm again. It's about the next game. It's about Livingston now. You need the steps by steps. But big respect to my group. I think we showed today how big is the personality, how big is the character. Let's speak not until the end of the season about the mentality of this group, because we have a lot of mentality. It's not about this football, it's about mistakes or not mistakes. We fully deserved over 90 minutes to win. We give them 2 presents today. I cannot really remember that they had more dangerous situation. We were in the game, we played even before the conceded goal with high intensity. I think as well, when you look to a week like this, and you know you have 2 big games where you need over 90-95 minutes high intensity, then you have to take the squad like it is, because otherwise you cannot do this 72 hours again and again. And that was the reason I made decisions this week. At the end we won. Big credit to my group. We played good football, and now it's about recover, enjoy the evening, and then we go again.
There was criticism of your team this week, but you responded as well. Does this feel like a statement performance from him and from your team?
Yeah, I think more important is what we do as a group. I think we developed a lot of resilience since I'm here. We go again and again, even after small setbacks. I try to be the leader of this group, leading by example. I give them a clear picture. Since I'm here, I know at the end we are still in the second position, but since we are here, we are top of the league. We took a lot of points again and again, and it comes from a lot of effort, improvements, development. We stick together. Not more, not less, but we go again.
Danny, you had mentioned the effect that the crowd could have on the match today, and Derek McInnes has been in and spoken about the atmosphere today. How pleased were you the way the fans responded to the calls to back the team?
Yeah, I think it was the first time since I'm here that Ibrox was like Ibrox. I felt what it means. I'm very positive. I think we want to have this atmosphere in the stadium. The only thing is, and this is, I can understand this sometimes, but sometimes it's difficult when you have to prepare the next action and you need the extra pass to prepare something. Then it's sometimes difficult for my players, I would say, because we have to make decisions, and especially when you play against a deep block and they wait for transition moments, and sometimes you need the extra pass. But let's speak not about this, let's speak about how the atmosphere was after the game. Outstanding. I think they pushed us today in every situation. Then they deserved these 3 points. It was great, it was really great. I enjoyed this. My players could enjoy this after the game, and maybe we can have more such afternoons together. It's called about we, and it means we can do this again.
Derek, what were your thoughts on the performance and just the overall game?
I thought it was a good game. First of all, I thought we were good value to keep it going. Obviously, the last goal, we've kind of chased it a wee bit, and Rangers were good enough to pick us off. But I still thought even 3-2, the game was in the balance. Just disappointed we've no held on to our lead for longer. 3 of the 4 goals you lose, it's when we're in their half, and it's stopping that counter-attacking threat which we spoke about. It's just having that nous and intelligence really to break the game up, make fouls, and try and stop the momentum. I think the Rangers support today helped the team, because I thought they obviously came and got right behind them. And I just think for us and any team who have to get a result here, you have to try and stay in front, make the game a bit more apprehension for the Rangers players. And I thought the Rangers players responded to the crowd, but we had a job to do that as well. We still had to stay in front longer. I thought we scored 2 very good goals. I thought we counter-attacked brilliantly from our shape several times. Had to react to Big Ocean going off injured, which is disappointing. Just like it's the top of his arm, shoulder injury. We'll see how that is. It wasn't a change with idea I liked to have made, but I thought it was a good game. I thought Rangers responded. I thought they were there's some good performances, and I thought it was played in the manner which the game should have been played. You know, we're not too despondent. We're disappointed clearly because we came here with a lot of expectations on ourselves, but we still feel, although we've lost a fight today, there's still a lot to win, and we're still well in it. You know, for us to be top of the league at this stage of the season is testament to the efforts of the players, and I've seen enough today that there's still a lot of fight and courage about our performance. So we've now got some good games on paper coming up, and it's important that we try and maximise the games coming up, and hopefully, as I said, get into the post-split games when we play with Rangers as the Celtics again, that there's still a fight to be won.
Is that the message, Derek, when you're looking at the title race now? It's really bunching up between you 3 at the top, but there's still such a long way to go. 11 games.
Yeah, I think there will be twists and turns, to be honest. I think you only look at how it plays out at Rugby Park today. You know, a team Kilmarnock are fighting to stay in the league can make it still go to the 97th, 98th, whatever minute it was. So there's a lot of teams fighting. I think you'll see a lot of dramatic finishes because there's so much on it for so many teams, whether it's teams fighting at the top, teams fighting for Europe in top 6, or teams fighting for their lives. And it just shows what can be done. And I think that's why you see a lot of goals. I think you see a lot of late finishes. And there's so much on it for so many teams. So there's work to be done for us. As I say, we've got, I think, 3 of the next 4 at Tynecastle, and it's important that we try and, as I say, maximise that before the split.
In the comments, guys, Davey Hoop says people need to not be losing their stuff about added time. It's the same for both teams. Let's enjoy this roller coaster running. Gordon Livingston says, I think I'm going to get O'Neill to pick my lottery numbers. I'm beginning to think his luck won't run out. Rangers Easy OK says that was the best atmosphere at Ibrox since the Leipzig game. The power of that can't be underestimated for us. The new signings are pushing us on. 11 cup finals left and we are in good shape. Your loyal Muppets, the Celtic have severely struggled against the bottom 4 teams, needing last gasp wins. However, David says Celtic have been so poor this season, yet a win at Pittodrie and they're joint top of the league. Doesn't say a lot for the other teams. So there you go.
That's a bit of a buzzkill, isn't it?
Daniel, that Celtic are the one team who haven't had a decent run of form this season, really.
Aye.
Yeah, they kind of feel that Celtic haven't had a period of the season where they've really clicked. Now, you can look at the personnel on the pitch and say it's not going to happen. Full stop. That they just don't have the players to go on a run like that. If somebody wants to make that argument, I'm not going to argue against it. But there remains a kind of lingering feeling just of past evidence that we've seen that Celtic at this time of the year have got an ability to come strong. They've been over the course before, and if they can, I personally think if they can get Oxlade Chamberlain to fitness to operate in tandem with Callum McGregor, it might solve the midfield problem, which is the problem which is causing everything across the pitch because they're not creating enough for the front players. Callum McGregor's getting swamped in the back 4 are getting put into problems, as you saw yesterday with Trusty and Scales in the first half, and Callum McGregor was left isolated, and all of a sudden they were getting at the back 4. I think if the midfield fixes itself, I think Celtic could be a lot better, and I think a lot will depend on Oxlade Chamberlain. If him and McGregor start to dovetail and really play, that might solve the issue of the other one. All of a sudden, the Benjamin Nygren mystery might get summed up.
That's exactly what I was about to ask you, Swanee. What do you do with Benjamin Nygren?
He doesn't have to do anything. Keith, what I make of him is exactly what I said on here 3 weeks ago. He's the biggest mystery in Scottish football. When he plays in the centre of the midfield, but he generally doesn't contribute anything in terms of killer passes, in terms of holding the ball, carrying the ball, holding it in, helping Callum McGregor. Yeah, if Celtic need a goal, there's one man in that team you would look, and I think it was said recently, it's not just the 4th goal in a 5-0 win over the team at the bottom of the league.
Big goals.
Every goal's massive.
Big moments, yeah.
You know, and even just it was so scrappy, the equaliser at Rugby Park yesterday, but he's there. He's the one that's there to stick it in the net. And maybe I think this open play stuff is maybe getting more exaggerated because too many times there's been 2 players like that. It's been him and Engels or him and Hatate or him and Bernardo, and it's not helped Callum McGregor. Whereas I think if McGregor can get that help, it might just release Nygren to just go and play. And then when he does those things, highlighting the other stuff that he's not doing, you're just seeing the good things that he is doing. If that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Yeah, but I think you're right. I think Callum McGregor's getting swamped in there.
Aye,
and
getting overrun.
When you assess what the options are, it really has to be Oxlade Chamberlain, doesn't it? He's the one, and if they can keep him fit, that could be a potential game changer in the running for Celtic. I totally agree with that.
Well, look, we've said this time and time again, but it's just dawning on me just now when I'm reading some of the comments that it is actually embarrassing how much the Celtic board have kind of left Martin O'Neill out to dry. I mean, we were saying it earlier, Swansea.
Swansea?
The Swansea. Swanee, sorry. Honestly.
Antibiotics.
Yeah. safe trip home.
Sorry. No, what I was going to say is that you look at the team yesterday, Mavuka can't even get on the bench. Benjamin Arthur can't even get on the bench. He had a Dean Murray. Amadou started, hauled off at half-time. I mean, Martin O'Neill clearly must look at them and think, well, not only are they not up to it, it kind of feels like, what was the point in bringing them in?
Certainly feels that way at the moment. Very early to judge them in terms of the time that they've had on the pitch, but I think the key issue, say for instance for Mvuka, is it was very difficult to judge him after 45 minutes against Dundee. The point is, there's been a week in the training pitch, and all of a sudden he's scored it all.
Can't even go on the bench.
that you should be showing something in training, surely, that you don't go from starting to not being involved at all.
Aye.
That's not good. Fanchara looked better than Adamu yesterday. I don't think there's any arguments with that. Benjamin Arthur, I think we all know, was brought in as cover. Next, Stephen Welsh was going back to Motherwell, and Arthur was brought in as cover. I don't think Arthur was brought in to step in ahead of Scales and Trusty. However, more performances like yesterday, and
You never know.
maybe they should have been going to get a centre half who was capable of stepping in and taking one of the places. Listen, we've gone on all year about Celtic's recruitment. Answers in a postcard. Honestly, how that squad looks right now compared to 18 months ago is eye-watering. And I know guys aren't there. Johnson, Carter, Vickers, Jota, I get that. But they should not be in the state they're in at the moment.
No, Stormzy's right. Do you know what? I'm actually reluctant to say anything in case Rod Stewart comes on again, because he was leading the happy clapping, wasn't he? Recently, with having a pop at me for continually going on about exactly as Swanee just said, the fact that Martin O'Neill was badly let down, and it's incredible to think about. You could understand it if there was a financial issue, if Celtic weren't actually caked in the manner that they are, with millions sitting there. I'll keep coming back to it, and I'll keep saying it because I believe it to be true. Celtic board had an obligation to Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill is doing everything humanly possible for a 73-year-old man to try and keep this season alive, to try and protect the board. He's acting like a human shield, and they didn't look after him. They didn't give him the respect he deserves, and they didn't equip him properly for what's ahead. That's not to say that Martin O'Neill can't work his magic, because he's doing it. And, Swanee's talking there about Celtic's run of form. I think what you can't do is conflate form and results, because the results under Martin O'Neill have been absolutely staggering. But the performance level, that's, I think, Swanee's point, has not
absolutely
been
average.
Yeah. If as good as that, Swanee, at times, pretty poor. But they're finding ways. And I think, look, a lot of that is obviously down to the players. They're the ones that need to dig it out in the last seconds of matches and drag themselves over the line. But I think a lot of it goes down to Martin O'Neill. And there are some players in that one there in particular. He just looks as if he checked out. He just looks as if he'd rather be somewhere else, anywhere else right now. And there might be one or two in the same camp in that Celtic dressing room. And that just makes what Martin O'Neill is doing even more remarkable. It makes the job harder for him, no doubt. But there's no excuse for it. No matter what Rod Stewart says, there's no excuse for the way Celtic have mishandled that window and failed to back a manager who's doing his dinger in to try and save this season and keep the title at Celtic Park.
The other thing is, Keith, it's not just even the guys who have been brought in, it's the guys who have not been allowed to leave. Celtic sell their business model on a premise. You come in, you play for us, we take you to the platform of the Champions League, you perform there, you win medals, and when your opportunity comes, you get to go.
Yeah.
Ask Eisenmeyer and Arne Engels if they get to go. We don't know what's happened with Rio Hatate, if he got a chance or not. Kyle didn't get a chance to go when he wanted to go. There's too many players there that have been there for too long.
Aye.
It actually reminds me, Swanee, if you recall the season Celtic were going for 10 in a row, and they made decisions in that summer. Yeah,
Christopher Ryan, aye.
There were players that Celtic deemed were too important. They were going for this 10. They could not stick to their promise and let them go when they thought they were due to move on, and that created a sort of toxic atmosphere. Inside the dressing room, because players are unhappy. They felt, some of these guys. Let's get it right. They're mercenaries at the end of the day, a lot of them, and they didn't care. It didn't matter to them if Celtic get 10 in a row.
Yeah.
What mattered to them was the next step in their own career. Yeah. Professional football players can be selfish that way. Now, there's guys that obviously, your Callum McGregors, your James Forrest, who live and breathe Celtic, and 10 meant everything to them. But some guy for France that's pitched up here thinks, I've done my time. I've got the English Premier League calling here, and I think that festered inside that dressing room that season, and I think you might be seeing something similar this season.
But you're also
And the only guy that's able to sort it out is Martin O'Neill, just by keeping them winning.
Celtic also damaging themselves, Keith, in terms of the finances as well. How much are Celtic going to get for Dyson Maeda this summer compared to what we're going to get last summer?
Very true.
So they hadn't properly identified a replacement and couldn't let him go.
And in the comments as well, Jimmy says Hatate's playing that bad, no one will want him. And Foxy Lad says Hatate's now a £5 million player at most. Anyone watching recently, I don't even think you get £5 million, to be honest. The other thing we should mention before we wrap up, guys, big win for Motherwell. I know we talked about it yesterday. Last night on Sportscene, I think it was, I was listening to Jens Bertolascu talking about his team. I thought the way he talked, Keith, I thought the way he bigged up Motherwell, it reminded me a wee bit of Martin O'Neill going on about how they were sensational and what have you. Celtic need a manager. Could he be in the frame?
I'd be surprised if he's not. But then with this Celtic board, who knows? But this guy's operating on their doorstep, and what he's achieved has on a shoestring, comparative shoestring at Motherwell, has been really quite impressive. That doesn't cover it, really, does it? And then if I'm looking at that and I'm Celtic, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is quite incredible. Guys like Paul McGinn and Stephen O'Donnell playing, a different level of football from anything that could ever have been reasonably expected of them. What could this guy do if you multiply the budget and you multiply the talent pool? What does it look like? And I think I'd be excited about that. And I think it would be radical and possibly very similar end results to what Ange Postecoglou got at Celtic when he managed to pull that squad together and get them playing Ange ball the way he wanted it played. If you're not looking very seriously at Askew, I suggest you're not doing your job properly. Now, that doesn't mean that he's the best candidate. Maybe there's somebody else. But I'd be really having a close look there, because I said it previously when I'm astonished that Aberdeen haven't just went and made the phone call and chanced their arm there.
You'd have thought they'd have at least asked.
Because this guy, look, you can be impressed by a manager because of his style of play and the way he goes about it, the way he carries himself, conducts himself, the way he speaks. You can be impressed by all these things. But if he's doing it in, I don't know, Holland or France or Norway, then you've still got that factor. Well, how does that work in Scotland? And we've seen what Jens Bertolascu's idea of football looks like in the Scottish context, and it's terrific. And I said, Swanee, I'm so impressed by them, and I know the focus is going to be on the top of the table, the three at the top, as we head into the final furlong here. I would not be surprised if Motherwell go into the post-split games and won all 5 of them. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. That's what a good football side he's put together there, with odds and ends, comparatively speaking.
Well, I think 2 of the 3 games against Rangers, they were much the better team. Dominated Celtic at Fir Park. Were much the better team at Celtic Park for an hour until their goalkeeper gave the ball straight to Nigan for a goal for 2 each. So they were basically in control of that game. Were 3-0 up at Tynecastle at one point. And are they capable of beating Hibs and Falkirk? Of course they are. So I don't think you're being outlandish here, Keith, by any manner of means. I
just find it interesting.
It's showing they're capable of beating any of these teams.
Yeah, and what you're going to have is Hearts, Rangers, Celtic all tying each other up in knots, trying to slit each other's throat. Motherwell could just get away with just plodding through, and who knows for that, if they went into that the last post-split matches and won all 5 of them, where might they end up? It's just another strand of enjoyment and intrigue to add into the mix this season. It's just been brilliant.
Yeah, I think it's great, because I think 2 weeks after Rangers and Celtic playing the league, then it's the Cup weekend. I think Motherwell at the Celtic Park. And you're normally looking at the games and kind of saying, well, when the Rangers play Hearts, when the Hearts play Celtic, when the Rangers play Celtic, you know, like, now you've got another team that is well capable of taking points off them all, and not just on their own turf. I hasten to add, well capable of going to any of the grounds and playing the way they do. So no, I couldn't agree more with you, Keith. He's been absolutely brilliant. He's been brilliant. He's been brilliant.
Do you know the point you make there, Swanee, is good as well. It doesn't matter if they're home or away. They don't change the way they play. And they're every bit as impressive on the road as they are. And I know their record is quite phenomenal now in terms of clean sheets and results at Fir Park, but they don't change their style of play. And they're just as likely to rock up at Celtic Park. And people, you know, I think one of the things you would say normally about Motherwell, don't like going to Fir Park, it's tight, it's difficult. And then if, you know, Motherwell go to an Ibrox or a Parkhead, you think, well, you know, they might struggle, big open spaces and all this. Motherwell lap it up. That makes Motherwell better. So yeah, they're really, people keep saying it because it's right. They're going to have a massive say in whatever happens this season. And who knows how good it could get for them. It's not over yet.
One last visit to the comments, guys, before we start to wrap up. McKenna says, I believe some of the Celtic players have checked out as they see the board as no ambition, no spending, not moving players on and not investing in new players. Davy Hoop says Jens would be a great Celtic manager. DG says Nancy was terrible, but he won something at Columbus. Motherwell guy hasn't got a chance. Kev says, personally I'd be shocked if Celtic take the Motherwell manager. It's too easy, this sport love drama. And just finally, friend of the show, Kyle Gunn points out, I hate to break up the title talk because it's brilliant, but the relegation battle is hotting up too. And I think you can see on your screen now the table. It really is kind of hotting up down at the, I mean, not for
it's hotting up so much we Kyle's sweating.
I mean, look, St Mirren on that. I mean, amazing job that Stephen Robinson's done, but it's really not going well for them now, is it?
No,
they're in trouble.
Yeah, they're in trouble. I agree with you, Keith. The one, I mean, we kind of had a lot of chat about it over the past week or so, just being around some of those games and some of the clubs, and it really felt like Kilmarnock were. But now again, we go right back to the start of the show, and we'll talk about Tyrese John Jules, and hopefully that's not anything too serious, because Kilmarnock look as though they've got something building under Neil McCann. St Mirren have stalled badly. Stephen Robinson keeps making the point though. Ayunga's been missing, Mark O'Hara's been missing, Bacchus has been missing, Gogic has missed games. They're going to get those players back. You kind of think they might have enough. It's Dundee's the one I said before the weekend I was a wee bit concerned about, because they've played so well for the last 2 months. They've played really well and come up with some really big results and performances, like winning the derby. And so it's like, yeah, you look at the table and they're not out of it. And that would worry me. Now, I could be wrong. Elvis might just have them on a roll and they'll keep playing like that to the rest of the season, but I worry that they've had a really good patch of form, and I felt like that weekend result was a bit of a kick for them. 2-0 to Livingston at home. That was the day to go and push on again and just give yourself that bit of breathing space. Yeah. To be hauled from 2-0 up at home to Livy wasn't great. It's going to be tight. There's no doubt. I think we'll agree Livy a draw. Despite their battling spirit, but the other three, it's going to be tough draft.
I just think, Swanee, having watched how well Dundee performed at Celtic Park, look, I don't want to get carried away, but it almost put you in mind that when you've seen some very decent European teams come to Celtic Park and dominate them, and Dundee were imposing themselves on Celtic in a very similar style. I was really so impressed by them, and I think that Stephen Presley's done really well in the transfer market. I think because he's contacts, he's landed one or two gems, and I think Dundee will be too good. I think they'll stay out of trouble, and that increases the issue and the drama around St Mirren, because I think Stephen Robinson has admitted himself that he's struggling to see his St Mirren side here, and it's been this way now for a number of weeks. Yeah, probably the bulk of the last 2 months, St Mirren haven't looked like St Mirren, and that was one of those.
St Mirren don't give away.
Yeah,
that's the thing I've noticed. Very un-St Mirren goals. The 4 goals they lost at Rugby Park last Wednesday night, where you were like, that's not St Mirren. That just doesn't.
Yeah, and in any one of the last 6 seasons, Swanee, you'd put a big red pen mark round St Mirren away. I think that's going to be a difficult fixture. and I don't think that same level of concern is there now for teams coming up against it. Man, I'm worried for them. But look, do you know what? In this season of seasons, you just don't know what's coming next. Do you?
Yeah.
Anything
I
could
think
happen.
those two boys in the middle of the park for them are absolutely massive. O'Hara and Bacchus, and I think if they get them back and fit, it'll make a huge difference for the rest of the team.
Yeah. Well, O'Hara's been part of the reason that they've been performing so consistently over the previous seasons. You're right, Swanee is a key man.
Massive player.
I think on that note, guys, that brings us to the end of Monday night's Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. Thank you very much for all the comments. Again, absolutely brilliant. We really appreciate it. If you want to get involved in the conversation, we'll be back at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Swanee, it's always an absolute pleasure having you on the hotline.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Keith. See you later.
Keith,
Cheers, Swanee. Cheers, Stormzy.
Keith, of course, it's always a pleasure as well spending my dinner time with you.
Yeah. See you later.
As I say, if you want to join us tomorrow, we'll be back at 6 p.m. Hope you can join us then. Thanks for watching.